Give me a sec.
My transplant begins.
So after less than 2 weeks, Concord is being shut down. Now I had never played the game, I can't tell you if it's good or not, because it was never even on my radar. All the characters look like they were AI generated, like they just put in Big Blue Mercenary, Skinny Lizard Man, Giant Yellow Robot. People are saying that this is one of, if not the biggest fumble in gaming history. But I don't think people really appreciate or understand just how bad this is. Sony is giving out full refunds.
It just came out. It took 8 years to develop, $200 million for PlayStation and Sony to put together this hero shooter that they said didn't land the way they intended.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I believe that the game was completely trash, because it did have potential. I played it enough to understand that the game does need some polishing, and it could have been better.
Sony had so much faith in Concord that they had even planned to do weekly animated story events in the game, which now is not happening. However, there is going to be an episode about Concord in the new video game anthology show Secret Level on Prime Video. I'm guessing they didn't know the game wouldn't be popular.
Transplant complete.
Wow. Someone said, my pronoun is dead game. So I heard of this game called Concord. Everybody's talking about it. And of course, when I see something pop up on Instagram or YouTube or whatever social platform you're on, it pops up enough times. Yeah, I'm going to be curious what it's about. I know what Concord is. And when I saw it was coming out, I was like, oh, okay, this looks generic as F. Not really something that I was interested in. The last shooter game that I played that I actively really liked because it was different, it was just something I wanted to try out, was Block Post. For me personally, I just really love the shooter. I don't really play a lot of FPS games because, like, you know, I like using the controller because I don't really have the most ergonomic setup. I'm too short. Like, it's just, I'm always having an issue with that. So I like games where I could play with my controller or whatever. So I don't really go for FPS games like I used to, especially on the PC. But I love this game enough to try it and like risk my wrists. It did also use a DS4 at the time, so I was able to get by. All of that to preface that, yeah, I don't really play FPS games like I used to. I do like them, especially when you're playing with other people. I can get lost in it. But to be honest, after a while, you know, after the whole Halo thing, there's not really a lot of them that I find to be particularly all that great, because at some point they're just all copy and pasted and I just want something new. I'm tired of playing the same things over and over again. So I was looking for an actual good FPS game that would give me something new, something that's not just freaking Fortnite, right? And I saw Concord, honestly, I was like, okay, this looks like 100 other games. Why would I play this? And the character designs are kind of stupid. I was just like, whatever. So that was where that ended. I clicked on it, it looked ugh, and then I clicked off. And then everyone's talking about it, and I'm like, I know damn well this game isn't that popular. It can't be. They must have added something new to the game, only to find out that the freaking game is dead. PlayStation shut it down apparently 2 weeks after they launched it. And naturally I'm thinking, ¿por qué? At the very least, PlayStation is willing to refund the players. Of course it is. Did it not make that much money? So I went into reading this, and like, is the game that bad? Surely it ain't better. It's not worse, sorry, than Dustborn. Because, man, that shit is disgusting. You can see my video I did on that, and there's a million people talking about it. Because I think people are going to be talking about that Dustborn game for many years to come. It's going to become a case study. I'm still kind of sort of on the fence about it being some parody or some social experiment or a huge troll where the developers are literally like, let's make fun of the people that everyone thinks that we're not making fun of and shine them in the worst light possible and pretend that we're on those people's side, because there is no way in hell that the developers came out and were like, we have zero tolerance for hate speech, harassment, and threats of any kind. But yet your own freaking game features your main character, who, great representation by the way for Black women, being an angry person who manipulates people, bullies them, cancels them, and can use her words as attacks to hurt people, including her friends. Like, who are you talking to? Well, given that at least, you know, like 700 people were playing, I mean, Yeah, about, damn, really? I mean, that's better than Dustborn that only had like 70 people playing, or 30 or whatever. So, I mean, it did something better. So people are asking, naturally, I was wondering too. I mean, I understand why people wouldn't be interested in this game, but people are celebrating that it is dead. I'm guessing because it had some consultant firms attached to its development, which people are not okay with. But there has to be more to the story, because people on Reddit were even asking, you know, why everyone is hating on Concord. I mean, people are allowed to hate what they hate, but like this post, the person says that it's not deserved and people are quick to jump on the hate bandwagon. But then again, the game now got canceled. So there are many other games that have come and gone that people hated or that they liked that did well or didn't. So one person says, I think it's a mix of both real criticism and people just regurgitating what they've heard personally. The person continues by saying, so I played the closed beta because I have PlayStation, and I'll admit I'm not the biggest fan of hero shooters. I've had my own issues too, but I was probably never going to pick this up unless it was phenomenal. Here's my thoughts anyway. $40 entrance fee kind of sucks, and I see people here saying there'll be no MTX, but the game is listed in the store as having microtransactions, so that probably isn't true. This is like the one time I legitimately think a game should have just been free to play. It's a new IP, so it doesn't have that standing power. Lots of people will never try it because of the price. The design around everything is rather bland. It feels too much like it's trying to be Guardians of the Galaxy or something. Oh my god! That's one of the first things I said when I saw this. I was like, yeah, this is totally trying to be Guardians of the Galaxy, but I'm glad that somebody else like picked it up. Anyway, I like a couple of the characters visually, but most of them are extremely forgettable, and no, this isn't a knock on the game being woke, in quotations. I think only a super small minority of perpetually online people who are extremely vocal are actually worried about that, but isn't something a wider audience even noticed or cares about. I didn't even notice the use of pronouns until it was pointed out online. I will give the person that the majority of people who are online, or rather the majority of people who play games, are not looking at whether or not the games are woke or not. I hate using the word woke. I think it's overused, but they're not looking at, I think when people say woke, they mean games or pieces of media that are forcing things in there that are not about the game or the story. It could be anything from political messaging, like what we see with Dustborn, or it could be, oh, let's just put in token characters just because they look a certain way, or because they're a woman specifically only for that reason, so that people don't get mad at us and call us sexist or racist. Like, and then they don't really even make the characters good on purpose. Like, they just throw them in there as like a token. And what a token basically means, hey, see, we added this. All people that think that we're not inclusive, now shut the fuck up and don't tell us we're not inclusive. Because see, we're inclusive. We care about people. That's what that basically means. However, a lot of the times when companies do that, they do that at the risk of their story, thinking that because that's what most, as this person said, perpetually online people bitch about, they think that that's the only thing people care about nowadays, because people who are always online and are the vocal minority make it seem like that's the only first and foremost thing that's important. And so they don't do anything else but concentrate on just ticking off those boxes. No, it sounds cliche. Everybody's been saying it, but that's exactly what happens. We've seen this in movies too. So of course, people, majority, yes, some people are too trigger happy with it, but a lot of the regular normal people are gonna be like, okay, I'm sick and tired of seeing this now. How many more female characters are you gonna shoehorn into a franchise with a male-led character and just make them a female version who's better than the males at everything and can kick the male in his balls and it's laughing and yes, it's funny, look at me, I'm the girl, I'm a boss bitch, I'm better than everybody else who came before me, including all men, patriarchy, blah, blah, blah. So yes, people are kind of tired of that. So I will admit that when a lot of people see that, even if it's remotely and it has nothing to really do about that, anything that resembles that now, they're a little bit wary. And I've actually become the same way too with female-led video games and stuff, because they always make the females, like representation, me as a female, they make them so distasteful. Look at what they did with Dustborn. They chose a black woman who isn't straight, again, like I said, in many situations, and they had made her insufferable. And a lot of people are not down with that. A lot of women are not down with that. So, yeah, maybe that's some of the people that we're talking about. However, like this person said, that's not the majority of people who are online. Most people aren't even online. Like, a lot of like my exes that I know, like even the ones that played video games, they weren't online all the time. They're just like, oh, that looks like a good game. Oh, it's ass. I'm gonna return it. That's basically it. If you ask them about freaking Twitter or what people are saying, they're like, I don't fucking know. I'm not on Twitter. I got shit to do. Like, you know, one of them is like a racer or something like that. He's out there fixing his car when he's not playing video games. He doesn't know this world that exists. Or he didn't. No, I'm not with him, obviously. But yeah. So I do agree with that. So I don't think it's fair to give those people too much, like, you're faulting them, giving them all that responsibility for the game not doing any or not doing well, because obviously the majority of people are not online. So if your game isn't doing well, clearly it's because something is missing. You didn't achieve something. You didn't accomplish something. That's all you. I'll get to that whole thing with the community warring with the developers and the developers actually setting themselves on fire, doing the very thing that a lot of movie studios do, which they need to stop doing because it does not help. But anyway, continuing what this person says in their Reddit post. Lastly, I just don't think the gameplay felt very good. The character switching mechanic wasn't explained well enough, and honestly, I don't like the idea behind it at all. In these kind of games, people want to get good at one or two characters, not have an arsenal of characters they have to switch between to get buffs. The time to kill and movement doesn't feel the best. I kind of like how it plays like Destiny in a way, but it's just not as fluid or something movement doesn't feel good on most characters. That's literally what the person said. But anyway, unfortunately, a lot of people have just decided the game isn't worth playing. I mean, the open beta had less players than the closed beta, and that's absolutely wild. I don't know if I've seen that with a game before. This sub barely has 2,000 members. That's also crazy for a live service game. Bottom line for me is the game is like a solid 6 to 7 out of 10. It doesn't do anything well enough to stand out from the competitors, and since it's not free to play, a lot of people will not be willing to buy it into play. Sorry for the long post. I hope it's insightful, and I was trying to be as constructive in my criticism as possible. And then the person adds at the end, edit, you know, if people just downvote criticism with no actual feedback, you're no better than the people who just trash this game with no good criticism, right? Let's practice what we're preaching here. And to be fair on this person, I do like that they gave a constructive feedback of why the game was good outside of it just being about the very obvious surface level things that people are talking about. Because if we're gonna be judging a game, like I'm not even blaming people for judging the game based on the consultant firms destroying the games and not wanting to support them, because that's their right to do that. And I completely understand where they're coming from, because it is ruining the industry. And I think people are doing this to make a point, just like people boycott other things to make a point. That's their right to do that. But it is good to hear that from another side of it. I'm going to come at it from another side. I haven't played the game. Like I said, I wasn't even interested enough to give it a thought, but I'm more so coming at it from the angle of the discussion surrounding the practices of the marketing of the game, and that's what I'm going to get into a little bit. But people are saying, yeah, this is a good judgment. Someone says, I'm happy to hear a critical opinion and not some DEI ignorant bandwagon hopping one. I think everything you stated makes sense, but it's also opinionated. I like the TTK and the movement speed can be a little faster, but it feels decent to me. I think it's different that every character has a different move and dodge and jump. I think the devs didn't go into as much detail on what's different and unique about the game. I'll say that's their biggest stumble. I think they went so hard into the shorts that they forgot to talk about the actual gameplay, and I think they're doing a lot of cool things with the crew builder and variant system. Also, the persistent deploys between rounds and deaths work for me. And that's good for you, but if the majority of people that are looking at this game, yeah, it doesn't grab them, you have to grab them with the marketing. But if people are looking at your game and they're just like, okay, this is just a freaking ripoff, it looks manufactured as F, I could play freaking Destiny or some other game, like what? Why would I not just play these other games? This game looks like it's copying off of these other games, and you have a little gimmick in there or two. It's not enough for me to want to spend money on the game. Like I said, if it was free to play, that makes a big difference. I've seen some games that are free to play, and people love it. However, if they had charged for the game, especially if it's like more money than is necessary, people, that's the definitive factor on people hating the game or not. Like whether or not they have to pay for it. If the game is ass and they're like, oh, the game's not that good, but I didn't have to pay for it, so I like it because I got my value out of it, just something to try, but then they don't play it, you know, it is what it is. But if they have to spend their hard-earned money, which is drying up for a lot of people now because of the economy, then they're going to be even more mad. They're going to be like, I'm not getting anything of any value based on what I paid for this game. So of course you're going to be more mad, right? You don't want to buy something and then you feel like you were scammed rather than you getting something for free and it's a piece of ass and you're like, well, that's why it was for free, right? The mindset really does matter. But let's get into the whole discussion surrounding this. I was digging even deeper. And this is one thing I do have to criticize, and this can be something that can make or break a game, movie, TV show, whatever. So I just trying to figure out, like, why do people hate the game? And somebody mentioned that the dev's heartfelt message to the Concord fans makes no sense. The game sold horribly and only a few hundred people were playing, dipping under 100 on Steam often. Tiny indie developers should be kissing the feet of 10 to 20,000 people who bought their single player game and the dedicated few hundred still playing. But a AAA multiplayer game made over 8 years for Sony should be shoving those people aside and begging the mountain of people who didn't buy their game to tell them what it would take for them to play their game title, which I completely agree. And people are saying, oh, it's another game that was terrorized to death by anti-ESG hysteria. Look, as a lot of these people have said, these games that come out, anything that goes on it's the vocal minority that's out there saying these things, right? And I do agree that the vocal minority should not influence what studios do because it's the majority of people. Because here's the thing, the vocal minority is not something that just happened with movies and with entertainment in general, because there were people bitching about things many years ago, and yet those franchises still did very well. Star Wars, even the Deadpool movie. Look at how many people were bitching about it. Like, the vocal minority people were bitching about it. Oh my god, it's this, they're making fun of this, blah, blah, blah. I did a video on that as well. However, Deadpool and Wolverine, as an example, has made well over $1 billion. The budget for this movie was around $200 million. Let's say, to be very, very generous with everything, $400 million. That's still an $800 million profit. The movie made bank. Everyone loved it. Was it the best movie ever? No, but it was entertaining enough and it made bank. It did its job. And the vocal minority that was still out there that was bitching about this movie, they weren't the ones paying for it. They weren't the ones supporting it. Just like The Acolyte and Dustborn, they made this game to probably cater to the vocal minority, which they did, because the very vocal minority is down with a lot of these things that the main characters in this game do and what they believe in. But yet you could see exactly just how minority this vocal minority is, because just like The Acolyte, nobody came out to play this game. Nobody came, like, come on. Nobody played this freaking game. That's crazy to me. So with all the people are like, this is everything we want, that's not what they want. And you know that's not what they want, because the only thing the vocal minority Riri people have an issue with are the franchises that are already long-standing, that they already like enough to concentrate on and focus on because it has a lot of eyes on it. They grew up claiming they liked it, and they lionized it enough to want to destroy it, to want to take over it and destroy it. These are franchises that they grew up with, to the point where they're like, man, I really want to be the head of that. And they like it, but they don't know what goes into trying to make it have the magic it did that drew them into the franchise when they were little. So when people are referring to the vocal minority and saying, oh, it was terrorized to death, you're basically taking all accountability away from the developers for making a piss poor game. Wolverine and Deadpool, like I said just now, giving you the example, they had a vocal minority that wasn't into it either. They still did well. They also had a track record with making good movies or decent movies and decent characters. People are acting as though there's a group of people out there just hating every single thing under the sun. Now, yes, are there people like that? Sure. There are people that just hate everything. Are they the majority of people? No. Sometimes you just made a bad game. But then these same people, not saying this person in particular, but these same people will see a game get popular that does have those elements that they claim that they find most important in games, and it will do well, and they'll make something up about it. Oh my god, it doesn't have enough representation, even though it does. Like what they did with the freaking Black Myth Wukong game, which a lot of people like, and people are having an issue with it. Like, the Asian hate is so freaking strong because anything that comes out of these Asian countries, people just have a freaking problem with it from the West. I don't know what is going on with the anime, with Korean games and Chinese games and Japanese games. And people from the West that claim they're so inclusive are just riding their dicks. I mean, like, dude, what the fuck? No, you Asian people, don't make the games like that. I don't like the fact that you want to make your own games and not force the stuff I want you to have in your game. I don't know, maybe judge the game itself as a game. The games aren't the place for activism. you know what? You want all that representation. Why are y'all not out here playing Dustborn? Are these same people out here supporting Dustborn and playing it with their friends? No? Then shut the fuck up. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, I can't even, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get, like, mad, but this is the reason why you have so many trigger-happy people that call everything woke. And yes, you can call it cringe all you want, but you were creating these people. This has to, I hope this is trolling, but, like, maybe it's not. Bro, I'm dead. So, you're basically saying all Chinese people are alike, right? Because having a bunch of Chinese people in the same place, that's not diverse for you? That's not enough representation? Like, do you actually hear yourselves? But anyway, I'm not even going to get into that. That was a whole other thing, and I ranted the fuck out of that video. That video was a bit too harsh, so I didn't even bother putting it up. I was like, you know what? This is a long-ass video of me being a bit harsh with what I'm saying, with the Black Myth Wukong video. So I just put that on the back. I didn't even put that out. I was like, maybe I'm just going to bury this. I'm not even going to put it out because the shit got me actually really fucking angry. But anyway, this is the reason why people are like, stop. Enough. The vocal minority, they want this. The majority doesn't care about this. They don't care about DEI. They don't care about gender representation. They don't even care about the people saying woke every 5 seconds. They just care about whether or not the game is good or not. And if your game, majority of people, you only have freaking 600 people out of millions of people playing your game. See, Pal World, by the way. Then there's something wrong with the fucking game because most people are not terminally online like you idiots that think everything revolves around what's between your legs and who you want to suck off or whose flaps you want to eat. It's getting so fucking annoying. And then you're wondering why people are reacting this way. Anyway. Now we have like one of the developers or animators or something. I don't know what they are. They say they're a they, them or whatever. But yeah, the posts are protected on this person. So I couldn't even, because I like to go to the original tweets whenever I see tweets being shown. I like to make sure they're real, but there are enough screenshots and this person isn't coming out and saying something out. Their posts are protected now. So I'm only assuming, take this with a grain of salt, that the screenshots I saw, the tweets, are real. Now, Bounding into Comics is one of the articles I saw. I don't really read this because I don't know, like, it's not one of the main comic articles I've seen, but they talk about like a lot of games and stuff. But they cover things that I don't really see on other articles, and I usually take that with a grain of salt because I'm like, if nobody else is talking about it, I don't know whether or not this is real. However, based on what I'm seeing, I'm assuming that these tweets from this person is real. And this is where the problem lies, right? This is one of where the problem lies. So the person starts by saying, it's Concord release day. So insanely proud of the team and what they and we have accomplished. A labor of love like nothing else. Been playing it so much since early access started a few days ago, and I'm excited for it to be available to everyone. Nothing wrong with that, right? Person's excited, and you know what? I can get down with that. I completely understand. You make something, you're proud of it, I'd be happy to. So the person continues by saying, I'm so honored to have this be my first AAA game. It was a huge learning experience, lots of struggles, but I'm glad to have gone through them. Time to go play. And then the article says that from here, it took a sharp turn to disaster. So they say that somebody was trying to offer the animator genuine condolences for Concord not being accepted by people and saying to them, I'm so sorry this has to be your first. I do not believe it is you or any of the other developers' fault that the game has performed so poorly. I can tell that a lot of effort was put into completing this game. It just came at the wrong time and genre, which is not bad. I think this person is doing a good job trying to encourage the animator. Don't see anything particularly wrong with what the person said here. And apparently the animator replied to this person, and this is where you lose people. This is how to not PR when you are trying to get people to buy your product. It is a tale as old as time and people still don't freaking learn. I don't know if their shoulder scapulas are on too tight or something, but someone needs to teach these people, if you're gonna be making a game, it would behoove them to take classes in how to speak to the public and the community. Like, we YouTubers, we can say shit. We're not trying to open up a store and get millions of people to buy our game. And for those YouTubers who are doing that, you notice that their tune often changes real quick. They're not just YouTubers, they filter what they say. They don't want to turn off a lot of people because they want people to go see their game. They want to divide people, right? So the article says, but rather than thanking them for their message, liking their post, or simply acknowledging their post in private, Rel instead offered the now deleted reply, I don't really care. It was a huge labor from a lot of insanely talented people making an awesome game. Why would I care about a bunch of talentless freaks hating on it? I'm sure having fun playing it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Talentless freaks? Like you? Clearly you didn't have enough talent for your game to be successful. And the person, from what unless we're missing something here, I didn't see anything that this person said, just judging off of what we're seeing here. There could be information that's missing. That's why I say take this with a grain of salt. But if we're to believe at face value what we're seeing here, the person said nothing about anybody else. They just said, look, I'm sorry that it wasn't received well. It just came at the wrong time and genre, which does happen with a lot of movies, a lot of games. You can have something that's good, and it just came out at the wrong time because it was competing with other franchises. And this is basically the person being nice and trying to take away any responsibility on these people for maybe not making a standout game and making something that was quite mediocre, which would have hurt the person's feelings and made them feel worse. The person starts off, the animator starts off by saying, I don't really care, but then you obviously feel like you care based on your very highly emotionally unintelligent response. First of all, you saying you don't really care is kind of mean, because I'm sure the other people care. If it was a huge labor for a lot of insanely talented people making an awesome game, I'm pretty sure that they care that their game isn't doing well. You put all that time, work, and energy into it, unless you all got paid already, so of course you wouldn't care. And by you saying you don't care, not only are you being discourteous and inconsiderate of the other people who worked on the project who do care about this, you're being very selfish, but you're also showing people it was no thing for you. I didn't care about this. There was no passion that went behind this. So yeah, now people can say, yeah, well, we can tell you didn't care because your game fucking sucks. Then you had to add in the, why would I care about a bunch of talentless freaks hating on it? Who said anything about talentless freaks? Who are you talking about? So you mean to tell me the millions upon millions of people who just aren't interested in your game is to blame for it doing poorly, while they're also spending lots of money playing other games that look very much like yours, that were just more successful or better received? Interesting. You know, and it's the irony of the person saying that they're talentless freaks, yet you were clearly not talented enough yourself for the game to do well. Not saying that's predominantly the reason, but I wouldn't be throwing out insults about having no talent when your game's not doing well. Like, it just seems like the kind of wrong thing to say at the time, you know? Self-reflection much? But anyway, this does not help their case. This is making people turn them even more. With everything that was going on, when House of the Dragon came out, a lot of fans of the books were very upset because they thought, you know, oh, the DEI, there's black Valerians, that's not what they look like. I personally never had a problem with it because I didn't see anything featured, you know, from these guys on screen before. It's a book, it's a different medium, but I can understand why the fans would be a little bit upset if they had descriptors in the book and they're like, this is the way that this race of creatures or this ethnicity of people looked, then it would make sense. They changed the dogs to eagles and whatnot. I get it. But there are some legitimately racist people that just had a problem with it. They're just like, oh, God, I can't stand saying black people. Like, and you know what? A lot of those people changed their tune. A lot of those people were like, you know what? Okay, this isn't just the normal, hey, I'm just gonna put black people in there for the sake of doing it. They actually have decent actors. And like Corlys, Lord Corlys is a freaking badass. His granddaughters, like everybody in there so far is doing an excellent job, regardless of what color they are. They're excellent characters. They're all well written. Does the show have issues? Of course. Is this going to age well? Probably not. I have yet to know, but at least everyone is enjoying the show. And the people who were bashing on the show before, they are now saying, you know, the show's kind of sauce, to the point where they're upset when they leave us on some weird-ass cliffhangers. Just goes to show you, you can still have diversity and all that stuff, and the game or the show or whatever you're producing be decent and good and people like it. What certainly doesn't help is people jumping up and down and throwing a tantrum because everybody else didn't do what they wanted them to do, or the people didn't play a game that the people who were complaining wanted them to play that they're not even going to support financially. I'm just shocked. I shouldn't still be shocked, but I am. As for how I feel about the Concord game canceling or PlayStation is trying to make business. I'm actually surprised that PlayStation shut it down, with companies now not caring about money and caring more about, hey, we don't want to offend people. It's actually a breath of fresh air that businesses are willing to cut ties with things. Like the Acolyte, I was actually shocked that got canceled. I was like, really? That got canceled? You guys usually don't love money, but I guess now you're feeling it in this economy just like the rest of us, aren't you? Interesting how that works. Interesting when you lose enough money, you start to realize that, you know, all this money that I thought I didn't actually need, holy shit, I forgot that I actually do need it, and that the majority of players out there that are not these people bitching and complaining are the ones supplying that money. Fuck, I should probably start aiming, you know, my marketing towards those people, like the 90% of people that are not terminally online or don't do this every day, like freaking YouTubers. That's crazy. But yeah, just as a FYI, like, I don't know if I have to keep saying this, like, customers are trying to help these people. Don't hurt your audience. You came out of nowhere, seemingly unprovoked, and basically made this about you and your insecurities, and you projected so freaking hard when the person wasn't even talking about this. You wouldn't trade it for anything, my ass. Okay. Bad cap, I swear. Nobody cares. You can have fun playing it. You keep playing it. Everybody else will move on to something else. As for me, when it comes to video games, I just feel like I'm going back and playing old video games, bro. I'm going back and watching old shows, things that I have missed. Because I find that those older games, even the retro ones on freaking Game Boy, feel better and have more substance and richness and gameplay replayability than these modern things do. Now everything is like, oh, this made a lot of money, let's make 600 other games like it that have no soul and passion. I'm just sick and tired of it. It's like, oh, okay, it's another game that's like Fortnite and with a different skin. Oh, it's another freaking Diablo or Wolfenstein with a different skin. It's World of Warcraft, but people can move. There's more movement speed, and you drop a little bit more loot, you know, but it's the same freaking dungeon crawler as all the other hundreds of dungeon crawlers with a slightly different story that you don't care enough about and you skip past anyway when you're co-oping because your person doesn't care enough about the story that you're playing with to even sit there and listen to it. Like, I'm just tired. I'm tired. That's why when Pal World came along, everyone was playing it because it was new. It took some other things that other games were doing, combined them, and gave us a new experience and something that people have been wanting for a long time. And guess what? You still had people bitching over it. But guess what? The game still made bank. And guess what the developers didn't do? I mean, they trolled people a little bit, but they didn't come out there and say, fuck you people, fuck you community, the people talking bad about us. They didn't have to do that. The vegan people were upset, and the only thing they did was they came out with a freaking video. Yeah, that was basically their response to the vegan people. They were like, which is something that you can do in the game, by the way. You can cook the animals. And I think, you know, that's a tasteful way to do that. That's just like a plausible deniability, like, oh, everyone's getting mad over this. Hey! Everyone was laughing. This was so freaking savage, but that's like the extent of what they do. And the guys even said, for the community, that, you know, you can play other games. Like, look at this, just as an interesting, and I'm gonna read this whole post if anyone hasn't seen it before, because this is a lesson in how to be with your community. This is why people come out and support stuff like this. And the people who were hating on Pal World, even though it was doing so well, were like, yeah, you lost all your players, you know, blah, 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 which we did everything we were supposed to do. But the person says, with Pal World quickly approaching the 1 month mark, it's interesting to look back at my own thoughts for launch. In May of 2023, I was convinced that Pal World could break the 50,000 player mark. Anything above that seemed unobtainable though, and I certainly never expected it to reach into the millions. It has taken years to get to this point, and Pal World only really begins from here. Everyone is working hard to fix the issues and prepare new content in Pals. Some of you may have had your fun over the last 3 weeks and found yourself putting the game down. That is fine. This emerging Pal World has lost X% of its player base. Discourse is lazy, but it's probably also a good time to step in and reassure those of you capable of reading past a headline that it's fine to take breaks from games. You don't need to feel bad about that. Pal World, like many games before it, isn't in a position to pump out massive amounts of new content on a weekly basis. New content will come, and it's going to be awesome, but these things take a little bit of time. There are so many amazing games out there to play, you don't need to feel guilty about hopping from game to game. If you're still playing Pal World, we love you. If you're no longer playing Pal World, we still love you, and we'll hope that you'll come back for round 2 when you're ready. play lots of games, try different games, and frequently flick through indie libraries to find hidden games. And you see, this is what developers should be doing. Nobody had an issue, like most people didn't have an issue with this game. The developers they're active with their community, they're not trying to divide people, they're actually saying, okay, stop, everyone relax, it's fine. And people are fine with this. This is what people want to hear. Notice that this is a far cry from the vitriol that we see in posts like this, which require this person to protect his tweets. Which, if you're somebody working on a game and you want to build a community, it's important for you to engage with people. But now you've turned people against you. You could have gotten those players back. You could have added more stuff and been like, listen, I'm sorry that it didn't have a good reception. Obviously, we need a little bit more work. We're going to come back and try to make things even more awesome for you guys and see what we can do to get you guys the best game that you could possibly play. But instead, it's, I don't really care. You know, well, why would I care about a bunch of talentless freaks hating on it? Bro, you didn't need all that. You're doing too much. Did a little too extra. That wasn't necessary. You want these people's money, not the other way around. There's other games out there that we can play. And furthermore, there's older games out there that we can freaking own, that we don't have to worry about losing because we have a digital copy only. We don't need your game. And you turning against people like this isn't helping you. So anyway, that was my only thing I had to add to this whole thing. I don't know why studios and people keep doing this, but hopefully they'll grow and learn. But you know what? They don't owe us anything. We don't owe them anything. They're the ones who want the money. And I think it's good that people are at a point right now where they've remembered that you can speak with your wallet. Money is hard out here. Trust me, like the freaking chicken drumsticks, man. And I'm someone who does not like chicken. But even if you're trying to choose it as a cheaper alternative, bro, $15 for drumsticks, man? Like, come on. Why would we then spend money on a freaking game that's like 100 other games and not even as good? Get the fuck out of here. Sorry. I didn't yell me work in the post, but whatever.
Biggest fumbles in gaming. Concord is going offline this week. Sony is shutting the game down and giving full refunds. PlayStation, you're fried! We tried to tell you this was gonna happen. The game hasn't even been out for 2 weeks. They knew they were fried. 8 years to develop this game. Gone. $200 million down the drain just like that. This is genuinely the biggest fumble in gaming. The moment they chose to make this game $40 was the moment it died.
Yeah, listen. We fucked up.